So something that I've actually noticed for the past couple of months, so I don't know if this is true for every other gym, but this is what I've observed in my gym anyway. So whenever I roll with a new white belt, it doesn't seem like they like to play guard, and that they actually rather be playing on top, so passing guard instead. And there's actually nothing wrong with that. It just feels like there's a lot of guard passes opposed to guard players in my gym, especially when it comes to white belts, like very fresh white belts. So if you are new to Jiu-Jitsu and you're a fresh white belt, do let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to know if this is true. So for at least this year, all the new intakes of white belts that we've been getting, they like to play guard passing, so they like to play on top. And there's only a handful of guard players. And I always wondered why this is the case. When I was a white belt, I gravitated to playing guard a lot. Partially because I have long legs or simply because I'm just not usually the smallest person at the gym. It feels like a lot of white belts right now in my gym, especially the big ones. I don't think even size matters, but it just feels that a lot of new white belts in my gym likes to play passing instead. So I actually spoke to a few of them, and to my surprise, they actually do like to play passing. So my follow-up question was, why do you like to play passing instead of playing guard? At least two of them had a consistent answer, and their answer were, if they are playing guard, it feels like they're always in a defense, while the other person will be, repeatedly trying to pass the guard, and eventually they will breach their guard and pass into side control or whatever it is. And that was actually really interesting for me because when I was a white belt, I actually gravitated to playing guard instead. And Jiu-Jitsu is known to have a system to play from your back and actually be offensive. So this was actually really surprising for me because I actually never saw it that way. And of course, I understand that if you're playing on your back, it feels like someone is going to crush you, especially if your defense isn't that good yet. And I totally get that because if you're actually rolling with someone who is much bigger than you, chances are they will just crush you. And what I've also noticed is they feel that if they're playing passing, they are more in control than they are when they're on the bottom. Again, also very interesting for me because I always thought that if you're playing guard, you have the choice of slowing them down. As a guard player, as long as you can off-balance the person that's on top trying to pass your guard, you're in pretty good shape. And if you think playing guard is a defensive position, then you're going to be looking at it as a defensive position. So you're not going to be looking for opportunities to attack or anything. You're just going to be looking for ways to get them away from you. But when you start looking at it as an offensive position, you actually start looking for ways to sweep, you actually start looking for attacks, and you actually see it as a very, very different way. And actually, now that I thought about it, making this video, I do realize that when I started as a white belt, there was actually a lot of people who actually wanted to play top position. And that's actually how I became a better guard player, from actually all the repetitions, because everyone wanted to play passing. I also realized that if there are two white belts who decide not to play guard, they will both actually stand up, forcing the other person to play guard. Again, this is also fine. I just never thought there are that many people who refuse to play guard. Whereas in higher belts, it's usually an agreement where if you stand up, I will probably play guard. And then if I stand up, they'll probably play guard. And yeah, it's very different. And I actually never had that clash before. So yeah, please let me know in the comments below. I'm actually really curious with this topic. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.